And according to me, I may be wrong, but that is why he is not making Last of Us 3. Not because he's done with it, but simply because he knows that he cannot carry it alone. But you know, fellow analysts, now that wokeness has been dethroned, I find myself wondering what will actually take its place. Because according to Machiavellian politics, right, power doesn't disappear, it rebrands. I mean, for years, companies were virtue signaling their ways into our pockets, our wallets, into our games or our movies, and entire franchises were upended in order to push narratives that people didn't even want. But here's the thing. Not only did that strategy stop making money, it was also stopped by the Trump administration through them removing and uprooting DEI from law, corporate, and media in general. Disney lost billions because of wokeness. Marvel is on life support, and Ubisoft is panic releasing Assassin's Creed Shadows like it's their last meal because they know it is. And what about Sony? Sony is doing so bad. They are practically begging PC players to buy their exclusives. But here's the mistake that I see people making. People assume that because wokeness has been upended and decimated and destroyed, it means that things are now suddenly or automatically going to just get better. But it doesn't work like that. Power doesn't disappear. It rebrands. There's a new fight happening right now, my fellow analysts, and it's not just about politics. It's about who will get to control media, entertainment, movies, and gaming. And trust me, some of these power players are worse than the last regime. So I've been watching this war play out, right? And I think I've come up with 4 factions that I think are most likely to take or fill that power vacuum that has been left behind by woke ideology, right? The first faction is the pragmatic corporatist, aka the rebranded woke. Now let's be honest, big studios didn't just suddenly see the light and decide that wokeness has to end or we should stop pushing this thing, right? They realized that it wasn't making money, so now they're adapting. Instead of slapping strong female lead in every marketing pitch, they're going to be changing tactics now. And I believe one of the things that we're going to start getting from this faction is more live service games. Because I mean, why tell a good story where you can just sell battle passes? We're going to get more AI generated assets because why bother paying artists when you can just pay ChatGPT literally peanuts? And we're going to get more remasters and fewer risks. Because why bother making something new when you can sell Skyrim for the 30th time? You see, these guys aren't here to innovate or to create. They're here to monetize. And if the pragmatic corporatists win, expect even more soulless AI-driven content. Devs will be replaced by AI, and your favorite game might be written by an AI bot trained on old Call of Duty scripts. You're going to get fewer bold ideas, and every game will be designed to keep you grinding, not to entertain you. Just imagine a future where every single game you play is just a slightly reskinned Fortnite game. Horrifying, isn't it? And then number two. Number 2 is what I like to call the traditionalists. Now, this faction is the one that is winning the hearts and minds of gamers. They don't care about identity politics. They don't care about activism. They just want gaming to go back to what it was before. And that is fun. Companies like From Software, Capcom, and even smaller indies are proving that if you just make something good, the people will buy. If the traditionalists win, expect the golden age of gaming to return in full force and in its full glory. Big budget games will start being fun again. Companies will start competing on quality and not pandering. But the number one risk is complacency. If everything becomes a safe return to form, we might lose out on innovation. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Dark Souls as much as the next guy. But if every single game that's going to come out is going to be an medieval RPG, then we got a problem. And then the third faction is what I call the Eastern Invasion, aka the "oh crap, China's actually cooking" faction. While Western devs are out here arguing about pronouns and character creation, Asian devs are out here reviving the gaming industry like nobody's business. Black Myth Wukong, absolute heat. Wu Chang, Fallen Feathers, pure ambition. Chinese horror games, they're bringing back real survival horror games while the Western devs are giving us remakes and overpriced DLCs. If the Eastern Invasion wins, expect higher quality, well-optimized, visually stunning games. No buggy, rushed Western releases. Expect cultural shifts in gaming. Less Western influence and more Japan, Korea, and Chinese influence. The big issue here is censorship and control. If Tencent and NetEase take over, don't be surprised when gaming starts self-censoring in order to appeal to Chinese government standards. I hope you like wholesome content because anything too edgy might start disappearing from Steam very soon. And then the fourth faction, which I believe has the most potential, is what I call the Chaos faction. This one is the rise of the independent voices. This is where people like us come in. Everyone knows that gamers aren't just playing games anymore, right? They're fighting back. We have YouTubers exposing industry lies. You have your Moist Criticals, your Endymions, your Vera Dark, your Melanie Max, your Geeks and Gamers. We have gamers refusing to pre-order broken trash. Cyberpunk 2077 taught us well. We have indie devs making actual passion projects without corporate BS. Shout out to Hollow Knight, Silksong. Now, I want to expand more on these Chaos factions so that you analysts can properly appreciate just how powerful they can actually be if they were to organize properly. So we'll start off with their strengths and their weaknesses. Under strength, this faction has direct access to its audience. You see, unlike big studios, indie devs and YouTubers don't have to go through layers of corporate approval in order to get to the audience. They simply speak directly to gamers and react faster to trends. Number 2. No ESG quotas, no diversity mandates, no suits telling them what's marketable. Complete creative freedom. They simply make what they want, and if what they create is good, they naturally just find their audience. Number 3, they are lean and agile. While AAA studios bloat their budgets with useless diversity hires, indie devs can make tight, focused games without spending millions of dollars on fluff. And YouTubers, on the other hand, can quickly expose industry nonsense without having to worry about corporate PR. And then fourth and lastly, they are extremely good when it comes to building trust. You see, AAA has been bleeding and hemorrhaging credibility. So much such that these guys, these chaos agents, they're just easily scooping it up. When a YouTuber or an indie dev keeps it real, their audience sticks with them like family. And then the weaknesses. Number 1, they have limited resources. No billion-dollar marketing and no massive dev teams. One bad launch could easily sink an indie studio. And YouTubers also face demonetization and copyright strikes and algorithm shifts that can tank their reach. Number 2, there's what you call lack of infrastructure. Unlike AAA studios, indie devs don't have massive QA teams and guaranteed distribution. That's why many indie games, they launch buggy, or sometimes they're not even noticed until it's too late. And then number 3, we have censorship and corporate pressure. You see, YouTube's rules are tightening, and some indie devs still rely on platforms like Steam, PlayStation, and Microsoft, which means they are vulnerable to bans and deplatforming. So what's the future of these wildcards? Well, for one, the YouTubers can't keep crying and complaining about wokeness. That battle has been fought, and the YouTubers fought it valiantly, and they won. So now they're gonna have to start building and sustaining their own spaces. Gamers don't just want complaints, they want alternatives that prove that the industry can be better. And for the indies, perhaps they find new funding models. Like crowdfunding worked for some, like Larian and Star Citizen, but I do understand that not everyone can pull that off. So perhaps we see more direct funding like Patreon, Substack, or decentralized platforms. Collaboration will be key here. If indie devs team up, they can create their own publishing networks instead of relying on Sony, Microsoft, and Steam. And a really radical idea would be if big YouTubers start funding and spotlighting indie devs. It could create a completely new ecosystem outside of corporate gaming. It would be incredible. But the question is, will the YouTubers actually step up, or will they remain in commentary mode? But anyway, let's say that the Chaos Agents actually win and they become the new ruling class. What happens then? Well, we're gonna get more power to indie devs, more creative freedom, and a return to gaming roots. Gaming would become more player-driven, and there wouldn't be any corporate middleman deciding what's acceptable. The only downside that I can see is it could get messy. Without big publishers, some projects will simply never see the light of day because they'll never get the funding that they actually need. I mean, yeah, we would get some great indie games, but also 50 pixel art roguelikes every week. So what actually does come next? And this is the scary part. Woke is gone, but we are entering uncharted waters here. Sony is pushing AI-generated content. Ubisoft is desperate for a win. Hollywood is flopping harder than a fish out of water. Meanwhile, China and indie devs are swooping in to claim the throne. So the real question isn't just who killed woke, it's who is actually taking over. And most importantly,